Bonjour, I am Frédérique Crestin-Billet, the owner of Maison Sajou, also known as Mme Sajou, and I will present you a little bit of my treasure. So we will begin with all the haberdashery collectible I have, which are things which inspire me every day for creating all the things for Maison Sajou. So I especially love things about threads, as you can see, and I have some nice things, especially, for example, this sample book of silk, which is very old and which contains about more than 1,000 colors. I think you can imagine. And as you can see on the picture, it's not very recent. This is another one for an English manufacturer, and this is also silk, and this was as only about 600 colors. You know, if we had to do this today, could be absolutely incredible. I have a lot of sample of thread cards in my collection. This is a subject I do really love. So I have a lot of little boxes, you know, and I collected them about 40 years ago now, I'm afraid, in a time where nobody was interested in this kind of things, and they were used to be too rubbish, you know. So I collected everything because I collect things since 40 years now. You can see Laine Saint-Pierre here. I have a lot also of needles packet. And I have wrote a book about this subject, about thread, which is I precise both in English and French. So this is here my collection, Museum and Heritage collection, which is a very nice collection of embroidery about French textile heritage. Here you have toile de Jouy subject, so the big embroidery and the little fancy works I make from the main embroidery. So I have a lot of subject. Here you have toile de Jouy. Here this is the one I made for the 10th anniversary of Sajou with all our universe, you know. So scissor, haberdashery products, all the places where Sajou was, the little Sajou album, the Sajou logo, which is the real one from the origin. I didn't change it, you know. This is the one designed by Mr. Sajou. And all the little embroidery kits you can do with our scissors and everything, the place where Sajou were, and all that sort of thing. The other one is about Château de Chenonceau in the Loire Valley, which is, I think, the most beautiful castle in the Loire Valley, with all the textile you can find here, in particular in all the rooms, you know, and all the women who own the castle, because this castle was owned by nearly by only women, you know. Sorry for my English. Here you have the tinsorial plants, which were used to dye, you know, fabric as well as ribbons. So you can embroider the flowers, and you have little ribbons who show the color you could obtain with each flower. So this is the same. You have the main embroidery and more little kits you can do. This is cross stitch, I precise. Little boxes and a nice little cushion also you can do. We arrive to the Bayeux embroidery, which is my interpretation of the Bayeux tapestry, which in fact is an embroidery, as you perhaps know. So I choose the main elements of the embroidery, in particular horses and boats, and I added a little map with all the places which are evoked in the tapestry, in the original tapestry. So here you have the Howard embarkment for Normandy, and the Battle of Hastings, which is very famous, and a lot of details with you can see on the edge of the original tapestry. Here we arrive to Napoleon and Josephine, which is an evocation always from all the fabrics that Napoleon and Josephine, who were very fond of fabric, you know, and they made a lot of words for all the French manufactories and all the roses that the Empress Josephine loved, you know, in her Château de la Malmaison. So this is the fabric of the bedchamber of Napoleon in Fontainebleau Château, the roses of Josephine, here you are, and then the Indian fabric, which was the one used by Napoleon in his campaign tent when he was on war, and the carpet you have here. Here you have Versailles and Marie Antoinette, so of course the Palace of Versailles, we are very near from it. And you have all the fabrics, details of the Queen Bedchamber fabric, and all the Queen and Kings who lived there, the fabric of the bedchamber, the King Bedchamber, you know, with all the grapes and everything. So you have also big fancy work you can do with this, you know, cross stitch and the Queen Bedchamber fabric, which is so marvelous, a treasure, as we say in France, you know. So you have Trianon Queen Bedchamber fabric. And here you have Filo Chinois, who is one of our main partnership, you know. So we sell all the thread of Filo Chinois, so polyester, cotton, you know. This is a unique range of fabric, of thread in the world. The gloving thread for Lunéville embroidery, for example, the metallized thread you can embroider with and using them with machine, patchwork thread, which is very famous, rayon thread for embroideries also. And I designed all the labels and boxes for Filo Chinois, as well as the display, you know. Silk thread you had here, and a specialty of Filo Chinois, which is l'incablé glacé, which is a very famous luxury thread for leather work. So, Établissement Tout le Monde are also making our embroidery thread. You have here cotton thread, known as Retors du Nord, which is a very French name. We also, of course, have the laine Saint-Pierre, which is a darning wool, but you can also use it to make embroidery, of course. You have the Tonkin thread with a glossy strand. So we are also very well known for our scissors. I designed those, you know. So they are mixed of acetate de cellulose and metallic part, you know. So they are only Sajou exclusivity. And this is a swan model, for example. And we also have a lot of other little model, more simple and I have to say less expensive, also with metal, and so for embroidery, even for nails, even, you know, a lot of, we have a very big range of scissors. You can see them, and I always pay attention to have nice boxes. So here are all the fabric I designed or are reprinted. Our fabrics have always an historic, you know, part of French textile heritage. So you have Toile de Jouy here. Jouy is very near from us, you know. It was a very famous manufactory in France, and I also made one about, of course, Versailles and Marie Antoinette. Alsace, the flowers, Indienne, flowers fabrics, the Josephine's rose, and we always have one or two fabrics matching together, which is very useful for patchwork, for example, and cashmere designs. And this is one of our recent one, Farandole Bretonne, with a coordinate one, you know. So we have about 8,000 products, in stock. So it's very difficult to present them in a short time. But we also develop a lot of wooden sewing items as a collectible of yesteryears. A lot of goods made with our fabrics. You can see symbols here. The Calais cocoons, which are for lace knitting, and our famous sewing boxes with thread from fil au chinois, scissors, and everything in it to make sewing. Little goods we are developing with our own fabric, and little pouches, and we also have tote bags and all that. Pincushion here which are very successful, and aprons, and of course bias, ribbon, and all that sort of kind of things, and little haberdashery items in a metal tin box. But I couldn't show you everything, so much we have. Thank you for listening.